Greetings, learners. I appreciate your attendance to our lesson for this day. Before anything else, let us have our prayer, which is the Interfaith Prayer by DepEd. Let us have our prayer and bow down our heads. O God, Creator of heavens and the universe, you are worthy of the praises. In you alone we pray and submit ourselves, for we are nothing without you. We humbly ask for your forgiveness and mercy. Dear Lord, we gather here today with the intent of doing good in thy name. Guide us to the night path. May our efforts to the blessed with insights, understanding, wisdom, and respect for all. May our deep faith in you give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Amen. Hello, learners. My name is Teacher Jessica, and together with
Teacher Julie, let me introduce to our learning objectives. Students are expected to understand the concepts of policies, principles, and dimensions in special education. And students are also expected to determine the importance of programs mentioned in this lesson.
Before formally starting our lesson, let us have a icebreaker or a short activity in regarding to special education. So let's play two truths and a lie. So you'll determine what is the lie in these three statements. In the first statement, all students with disabilities are automatically placed in special education classrooms. Statement 2, inclusive classrooms where students with disabilities learn alongside their non-disabled peers have been shown to have numerous benefits for all students. Statement number 3, special education teachers create individualized education programs or IEPs for students with disabilities. So what do you think is the lie? You can pause the video to determine the lie. So the lie is all students with disabilities are automatically placed in special education classrooms. So why is it a lie? Because students with disabilities can receive special education services in various settings, including general education classrooms, resource rooms, or special education classrooms, depending on their individual needs and IEP goals. So we move on to the item number 2. The first statement is, early intervention services can substantially improve the developmental outcomes of young children with disabilities or delays. Statement number 3, early intervention services for infants and toddlers with disabilities or delays from birth to age. Statement number 3, early intervention services are only effective for children with severe disabilities. You can pause this video so you can determine the lie. So the lie is, early intervention services are only effective for children with severe disabilities. So why is it a lie? It's because early intervention services can benefit children with a wide range of disabilities or delays, from mild to severe. Additionally, early intervention can also support children who are at risk for developmental delays due to environmental or biological factors. Oh, so that is all for our free task. So have you learned something? Yes, you have learned something, no? Good day once again, students. I am your teacher, Jessica Domael. Tackle about early intervention. What is intervention? So intervention refers to the actions taken to prevent or halt a problem, issue, or situation at risk of worsening or becoming more severe. So if you think about it in another perspective, you can also say that intervention is the solution to a problem. So the early solution for a problem. For example, you've been feeling under the weather for these past few days, and you feel like a fever is coming up. So you have recognized the signs or the signs that you are going to have a fever. So to prevent this fever, you're gonna take a biogesic so you can feel better, or to lessen the effect of the fever when it comes, or the main issue or the problem. What is early intervention? early intervention in special education is a systematic approach to providing support and services to children with developmental delays or disabilities. It is usually from 1 to 3 years old. So this is where you assess, or you can evaluate or assess a child who is 1 to 3 years old if he or she has developmental delays. So what is the importance of early intervention? First, early intervention can help identify and address learning, developmental, and behavioral problems in children as early as possible. So it is very important not to have or identify these problems early on, because we can provide early intervention or the solution to that problem. Early intervention allows children to receive appropriate support and service at a critical stage in their development when it can have the most impact. So we all know that the learning curve of the students is when they are 1 to 5. So if we identify the problem or the developmental delays of a child, so we can have an appropriate early intervention. So it could help them to have that learning curve a bit more. Let me share my personal experience. So let me share the experience of my brother. So my brother had a speech defection or some sort. So he was diagnosed. He would stutter, or he would find it very hard to communicate straight on or to have a straight conversation with someone. So the doctor, it was actually diagnosed when he was already 5 years old. So it was pretty late na. But the doctor provided a speech therapy sessions for him. So he was going to the hospital 3 times a week. So he was given that therapy, and gradually he has improved his speech. So now my brother is now able to speak very fluently, especially in English, because he was very exposed to digital world early on, and that intervention or that speech therapy actually helped him to be more eloquent, or more in other words, he could communicate fluently more than other people. So that speech therapy gave him a step forward to overcoming that speech defection, and also to overcome a normal person's fluency. So no, it was very helpful. The early intervention was very helpful for him. So enhance child's development outcomes and help children achieve developmental milestones more effectively. So as I have said, as my example, as I set my brother as an example, so he overcome that developmental milestones more effectively, or developmental milestones more effectively. So these interventions educate and empower families, providing them with strategies to support their child's development. So after my brother was diagnosed with that speech defection, my family, or our family, was very supportive of him and very understanding of his situation. So that actually helped him to overcome the developmental delay, and to also step up his milestones. So what is developmental milestones? So I have recently about developmental milestones. So what is developmental milestones? It refers to specific skills or behaviors that children typically demonstrate at a certain ages during their early years. So these milestones are expected. These milestones or behaviors are expected with children in their age. For example, in age 1, a child is expected to walk now. So this is according to Bailey and Matson 2013. So what are the kinds of developmental milestones? So it could be physical. So physical highlight motor functions such as rolling over, crawling, walking, and using utensils. and cognitive. So when we say cognitive, so it is from the mind or from the brain. So this is the thinking ability of a child. It could be in thinking, learning, and problem solving abilities like recognition shapes or counting. Social and emotional. So skills that involve interacting with others and expressing feelings such as playing with peers or showing empathy. So this is where a stage where a child learns empathy. So in communication and language, so it is the development of verbal and non-verbal communication skills, including babbling, saying first words, and forming sentences. In the example that I gave you, pertaining to my brother, so his developmental milestone which was not met was his communication and language. What is developmental delay? Developmental delay is characterized by child not achieving development milestones within the expected time frame. Not yun ay time frame develop milestones tagi age, like in age 1 a child is expected to walk or to crawl, to say the first words, and if it is not met in that certain time frame, so he is suspected to have a developmental delay. So actually dili ra ka makapataka o categorize sa isa ka child if siya kay na siya developmental delay, because you need to have proper diagnosis sa isa ka doctor or specialist. So what is developmental disability? Developmental disabilities encompass a diverse group of chronic conditions that arise during the development period and significantly impact on an individual's physical, learning, language, or behavioral functioning. They often persist throughout a person's life and can affect daily living skills as well as social interactions. So this is according to National Institute of Health 2021. Also, so developmental disabilities can actually affect your daily functioning or your behavioral functioning. So it could be physical, learning, or in learning, screening and evaluation assessment for children with this developmental delays. So this is where you diagnose a child if he has or he or she has a developmental delay. So the first step is screening. So it is a preliminary checkup using standardized tools to determine if a child is meeting developmental milestones. So this could be an assessment like a survey, or a child could answer a standardized questionnaire where they could measure their ability. And then the evaluation part, so it is a comprehensive assessment that examines various developmental domains, including cognitive, speech, motor, social, emotional, and adaptive skills, to determine the presence and extent of any developmental delays or disabilities. So this evaluation often involves play, observations, and standardized tasks to provide a detailed understanding at the child's strengths and needs. So this is the part na nanay actual nga interaction ang specialist or ang child. So it could be in a form of observations and standardized tests to provide a detailed understanding. So in the screening part kay it could only be an overview pa if you have that, if your child has a developmental delay. So it could be subjected to referrals for further evaluation if necessary. And then in the evaluation part, a child is met now with the specialist. So the specialist can have the observation and one-on-one tests if the child is really developmental delays. So the assessment part, specific assessment focus on individual developmental areas such as speech and language or motor skills. These assessments can guide interventions and support services tailored to each child's unique needs. So there is assessment kay a specialist can assess unsa ang mga needs sa bata. These are the kinds of early intervention services. Number one is they could be screened and then evaluated and then assessment para mahibawan ang ilang developmental delays. And then speech and language therapy. So this service focuses on improving communication skills, including understanding and using language. This is according to American Speech Language Hearing Association 2020. Physical therapy helps children improve their grass motor skills such as walking, running, and coordination. So diri na ang part sa physical body ang gina-target ani. So if a child is not walking in age 3, a family could reach out to a physical therapist. So a physical therapist could have a one-on-one intervention with a child so he can walk. Occupational therapy assists children in developing fine motor skills necessary for daily activities like dressing and eating. So developmental therapy provides support in areas such as cognitive and social emotional development. Occupational therapy therapists focus on enhancing the child's ability to participate in play and self-care tasks. So here in developmental therapy, it provides support areas developmental therapy provides support in areas such as cognitive and social emotional development. Specialists work with families to promote learning through play and everyday interactions. Then in family training and support, so family training programs educate parents on strategies to support their child's development at home. This may include training in specific techniques for communication or behavior management. It is according to Duntz et al. 2010. And then nutrition services. Nutrition services provide guidance on healthy eating habits and dietary needs tailored to the child's developmental requirements. Proper nutrition is essential for overall growth and development. Assistive technology. It refers to a variety of tools and devices to enhance learning experience for students with disabilities, enabling them to perform tasks that may be challenging due to their conditions. These technologies range from simple tools like pencil grips to advanced software such as speech-to-text applications, all aimed at improving accessibility, communication, and overall educational outcomes. And counseling services. So counseling may be offered to families to help them cope with the emotional challenges associated with raising a child with developmental delays or disabilities. And service coordination. Service coordinators help families navigate the early intervention system by coordinating services and ensuring that families receive the necessary support tailored to their unique needs. So kani siya sa service coordination kay this is where you coordinate a plan with the certain therapist. For example, you have a therapist in family support, you have a counselor or therapist for speech therapy, and then these therapists could collaborate or to have a coordinated intervention system. So they could help with the unique needs of each child. The hearing and auditory or vision services, it evaluates supports hearing and vision needs. So katong mga child nga dili makakita og tarong, and katong mga children nga dili ka hear or kasi could seek help to improve or to, for example, sa kaning hearing ko. So a child could or a family could seek out a specialist on audiology, so he could or they could have a hearing aid, for example. Then home visits provides in-home support and guidance for families. So these are the could actually have a person or a specialist visit you at home. So a therapist could actually see the or help you with the everyday happenings in your house, medical, nursing, or nutritional services. So this is concerned with the health, medical, and dietary needs of your child. Social work services offers family support and connects to community resources. Developmental monitoring tracks progress and identifies further needs. So this is where your findings could be or your improvements could be tracked. Ma-identify nimo ang further needs sa child. Psychological services supports emotional and behavioral development. So from the word psychological, so it pertains to the mind. They could help the child or the parents the necessary support so they could develop their emotional and their behavior. Special instruction for the child. So kanina ang kanang specialized na ang instruction sa child sa iyang needs. So these services na I've mentioned are actually divided into 4 groups. So we have child-centered approaches. It engage children based on their interests and strengths. So child-centered meaning it focuses only to the child. And then family engagement is collaborating with families to identify goals and strategies that support their child's development. For example, katong sa family training and support. And then data-informed decision making, using assessment data or tailored interventions to track progress over time. So an example of this is the evaluation and assessment, and then the developmental monitoring. Then inclusive and so that is all for the early intervention.
What an insightful discussion by teacher Jessica. And yes, hello. Allow me to introduce myself. I am teacher Julie, one of the reporters for today's lesson, and I'll be discussing you about the Philippine model of inclusion, transition program, and sustaining program. So, let me ask you a question. What is inclusion? We know that inclusion is a practice which ensures that individuals from diverse backgrounds, including those with disabilities or limitations, are integrated into all aspects of society, particularly in educational settings. So, we know that inclusion accommodates the diverse needs of all learners. So, this is to ensure their presence, participation, and achievement in educational settings. And next is that we move on with inclusive education. So, if we have inclusion, which is a practice, we have inclusive education, which is an educational approach. So, inclusive education is an educational approach that ensures all students, regardless of their abilities or disabilities, learn together in mainstream classrooms. And this model emphasizes the need for schools to adapt to diverse needs of all learners because that promote participation and support in common learning environment. Inclusive education promotes a culture of respect. It reduces bullying and enhances social integration. It also emphasizes the need for collaboration among teachers, educators, families, and the community in order for us to create a supporting learning environment. And this statement aligns well with UNESCO's right to education, which asserts that education is a fundamental human right, and this promotes equity and accessibility for all children. So let me introduce you to the process of inclusion. So we have here education system. So the education system has a full responsibility to ensure right to education. And that is because the main goal of education is to provide a promising educational setup
and learning to all the learners. And this system should start with assessment, the assessment of children with disabilities. So in this part, as you can see, it involves with specialists. So in this part, they address the limitations of the person, of the child. So they go to a specialist such as speech therapist if dili pa katarong og storya ang bata, or physical therapist because there is a limitation with the motor skills of the child. There, in this stage, assess. Hibawaan na to ang limitation sa child. And in this process, naatay formal and informal approach to gather information para makamake og recommendation. Okay? So, ang assessment is needed kay para for them to know what special needs the learner has and what is needed to do. And after that assessment, we have the provision of support systems, the provision of support services. So in terms of personnel and equipment, assistive devices and learning resources. So since gikan ta sa assessment, which we need to know unsa nga special needs a learner has and unsa nga attention they need, we provide them with support services, and it could be anything na maka-address sa ilang special need. And of course, those support services isn't complete if walay specialists, ilang friends and families, diba? For them to be there physically and emotionally. And of course, next thing is that it is equipped and ready to handle diversity through flexible, modified curriculum, teaching and learning methods. And so we have here the terms such as adaptation, augmentation, and alteration. So, of course, to make this program effective, the SPED teachers should be equipped to handle diversity through flexible modified curriculum, remediation and enrichment, and involvement of peers, parents, and the community. So, in this modification of curriculum, it involves adaptation, augmentation, and alteration. So, adaptation is a curriculum for learning disability. So, adapted curriculum prepares you to teach students with developmental and intellectual disabilities and autism. So, throughout the program, you will gain experience working exclusively with children with severe disabilities. It modifies the presentation of the curriculum on the students' engagement with the curriculum. So next is that we have augmentation. So this curriculum is for the blind, hearing impaired, children with autism, ADHD, or intellectual disability. And this enhances their metacognition and meta-presentation. So this refers to the capacity of the mind to represent a higher order representation with lower order representation embedded within. So, example for that is that learning how to learn. So, thinking about how people think. Next is that we have alteration. So, alteration, it happens for the post-elementary or post-secondary. So, this refers to transition. So, the obligations of a post-secondary school to provide academic adjustments, including auxiliary aids and services, ensure the school does not discriminate on the basis of disability. So in the process of inclusion, we have here the education system, which na assessment and support system. Next on is it is equipped and ready to handle diverse through flexible modified curriculum, teaching and learning methods. So naadiri ang adaptation, augmentation, and alteration. And next is that remediation and enrichment. And this also involves of peers, parents, and the community. So Next, and as we have flexible teaching methods with innovative approaches to teaching aids and equipment, assistive devices, and learning resources. And with the result of that, and it must ensure nga responsive and child-friendly environment ang atong classroom. And professional environment working deliberately and actively to promote inclusion for all. And this is the process of inclusion. So we move on with the Philippine model of inclusion. The Philippine model of inclusion entails that in a regular class, there are always the support of SPED, either to the special students or the regular teachers, to continue guiding students with special needs, especially if they are entering a regular class. So, ang functions of SPED as a resource center for inclusion is that it conducts continuous assessment of children with special needs, and it provides in-service training to school personnel on why and how to create inclusive school as well as other educational trends, and it produces appropriate teaching materials for those with disabilities or limitation. However, there are different instructional program included in the Philippine model where parents wish to enroll their child with the guidance of professional to determine what certain program is essential for their child. So these are the following program as spearheaded in the Philippine model of conclusion. So we have here special class. So a special class, it is a separate class for only one type of exceptionality, which serves moderate to severe types of disability. So, a special class is a class consisting of students with disabilities who have been grouped together because of similar individual needs so that they can receive specially designed instruction. So, in these special classes, the content, methodology, or delivery of instruction is adapted to ensure the student have access to general curriculum and the opportunity to meet the educational standards that apply to all students. So students in special class participate man pod in general education curriculum with accommodations lang and supports unless otherwise specified on their IEPs. So this allows students in special classes to have access to make progress in the general education curriculum. Okay, so integration and mainstreaming in this context refers to the enrollment of child with special needs in regular class with support services. There are 2 degrees of integration. So first we have partial integration or mainstreaming. So in this situation, a child with special needs enrolled in a special class is integrated with regular children in non-academic activities like work education, physical education, arts, school programs, and etc. Then gradually integrate in the academic subjects if qualified. So, it means nga, giplace lang ang student with disability or limitation in regular class as part of their instructional day, but this is not their primary placement, Jude. And the second one we have full integration or mainstreaming. So in this situation, a child with special needs sits in the regular class in all academic and non-academic subjects. So it means they receive all special services in general classroom. This refers nga a child with IEP attending a regular classroom for their social and academic benefit. But these children are not expected to learn the same material as the rest of the class. And know that inclusion fosters social acceptance and enhances learning outcomes, and it prepares all students for a diverse society. And now let's move on with transition program. So what is transition program? Transition programs are essential for preparing students with disabilities for life after school. So this is designed to assist those with disabilities, particularly young adults aged 18 to 22. So they're the one who receive special education services that benefit from these programs. So it helps to assist them in acquiring the skills necessary for independent living and successful integration into society. So this is very crucial for students with disabilities who require additional support to navigate the shift from school to adulthood. So the transition program have several key areas. So the transition program for special learners focuses on several key areas to facilitate their development and independence. So number 1, we have here life skills. This component aims to enhance students' personal awareness and independence in managing daily tasks. It includes training in personal hygiene, cooking, budgeting, and home management. This training often involves collaboration with families to reinforce skills in real life settings. Number 2, applied academics. Applied academics develop functional literacy and numeracy skills relevant to everyday life. This training focuses on preparing students for future employment by teaching essential work behavior and skills. Through experiential learning opportunities, students practice job related tasks in real work environments, thereby enhancing their readiness for the workforce. Number 4, leisure and recreation. This aim promotes participation in leisure activities that contribute to overall well being. Students learn to engage in recreational pursuits that foster social skills and a healthy work life balance, which are crucial for their emotional and physical health. Number 5, community living. Community living skills are developed through planned activities in various community settings. These experiences help students improve their communication and social emotional skills while learning to navigate public spaces like stores, transportation systems, and recreational facilities. So know that this transition program is very vital, because they transition from school to adulthood, diba? For independent living. And even though they're not living alone, it still helps with navigating their autonomy as a person, diba? So know that transition program equips students with essential life skills. Remember that because this again promote the independence and enhance their employability and facilitate a smoother transition into adult life. Sustaining program. So, let's move on to sustaining program. What is a sustaining program? So, a sustaining program focuses on providing ongoing support and resources for children with disabilities. So, it means that this sustaining program refers to an ongoing initiative designed to maintain support and resources for the growth of children with disabilities. These programs aim to ensure access to quality education through initiatives like training for educators, development of instructional materials, and the establishment of special education or SPED centers. So here are the following sustaining programs. So this includes the establishment of 276 special education center nationwide, provision of SPED items, downloading of funds, conduct of training programs for teachers handling children with various disabilities, conduct of training for school heads and supervisors, development of instructional materials for children with disabilities, conduct of advocacy strategies like the SPED caravan in regions and divisions without SPED centers or without SPED programs, implementation of various intervention programs like early intervention, as to what teacher Jessica mentioned, transition program, what I mentioned before, tackling sustaining program, and Head Start program. So know that sustaining programs are crucial. Know that sustaining programs are crucial as they ensure the effectiveness of initiatives to promote stability within and facilitate ongoing development. They help in adapting to changing needs while maximizing resource efficiency and enhancing overall productivity. So now, let's move on forward to the last topic of this lesson. Let us call Teacher Jessica.
Now we will discuss the National Indigenous People Education Policy Framework in the Philippines. It is a vital initiative that ensures that educational needs of indigenous people or IPs are met in a culturally responsive way. The National Indigenous Peoples Education Policy Framework in the Philippines is a significant initiative aimed at ensuring that the education needs of indigenous peoples are met. So it is established through the DepEd Order number 62 of 2011. This policy emphasizes the right of IPs to an education that respects their cultural identities and integrates indigenous knowledge systems and practices. It is according to Department of Education 2021. The objectives of the policy. So its objective is the right-based approach. It aligns with the Philippine Constitution and the Indigenous People Rights Act, or the IPRA of 1997, to recognize the right of IPs to quality education. The framework adopts a right-based approach. So it recognizes their rights or their fundamental rights to a quality education. And cultural relevance. Education is designed to fit the cultural and social context of IP learners, promoting their unique knowledge and skills. And then lastly, the inclusive education. So by engaging local government units, civil society, and communities, the policy ensures a supportive and inclusive educational environment for IP students. The policy seeks to ensure inclusivity by engaging various stakeholders, including local government units and civil society. Implementation strategies refer to the specific methods, actions, or plans employed to execute a project, idea, or a policy effectively. Curriculum development. The integration of culture-responsive content into the curriculum is essential. This includes mother tongue-based multilingual education and contextualized lesson plans that reflects local cultures. So this is also part of the inclusive education. It is to include everyone, even the students with limitations and the marginalized indigenous people. Teacher training. So training programs for teachers are crucial to equip them with the skills necessary to deliver culturally relevant education. It includes hiring educators who are knowledgeable about indigenous culture and practices. Community engagement. Initiatives such as involving community elders as mentors and using ancestral domains as classrooms are part of the strategy to enhance learning experiences for IP students. So, in conclusion, the National Indigenous Peoples Education Policy Framework is a statement of the Philippines' dedication to providing equitable, inclusive, and culturally relevant education for all. Its success lies in the collaborative efforts of all. So that is the wrap up for our reporting. Send us a message if you have any questions. So this is Teacher Jessica Dumael and
This is Teacher Julie.
wishing everyone a productive week ahead. Here are our references to serve as your basis. Thank you so much.